Alright, my little math friends, we are moving further on into Chapter 8, this geometry chapter. And now we're going to be moving into Chapter 8.4, Lesson 8.4. We're going to be looking at angle relationships when two or more straight lines cross. Okay, there's something that happens in geometry when we have two or more lines that cross. There's some different types of angle relationships that happen that we're going to learn about. Okay, kind of like this figure here. We have two lines crossing and then a third line crossing and kind of hitting here in the center. And when that happens, we have some different angle relationships that we're going to talk about and learn about. Okay, so first let's take a look at what's going on here. Okay, here we have this figure. There's a bunch of points here on these lines. Okay, F is the point right here in the middle. They don't put a point there so it doesn't get all confusing with all these lines crossing, but F is the center point right there. Okay, another thing that we have going on is we have a couple of right angles using this symbol right here. So we know that this angle here is a right angle and that this angle here is a right angle. Okay, so like this angle right here makes a right angle because it has that symbol. Okay, so we're going to be naming angles today. And when you name an angle, like for example, let's say we wanted to talk about this angle right here. Okay, so if we're talking about this angle and we want people to know what it is we're talking about, we would name this angle. Okay, and we're going to use these points right here to do that. Alright, so how you name an angle, you take either of the outside points and you start with one or the other. Okay, so we're going to use, let's say we're going to name this angle, we're going to use the angle symbol, which looks like that. Okay, and we're going to use either of these points, it doesn't matter. We can start with D, and we're going to call it, this angle is going to be called DFE. Okay, we start with the outside point, then we go to the middle of the angle, and then we go to the other end of the angle. Okay, so if we were going to call this angle something, this would be called angle DFE. Alright, if we're going to name another angle, let's say we're going to name this big angle right here, we would use either of these outside points and then the F as the center point. So we could call this angle angle AFE. Alright, so we'd use the angle symbol and this would be called AFE. Okay, now let's take a look at some different angle relationships that happen in geometry when we have this type of situation. Okay, there are four of them that I'm going to talk to you about. Four things. We have something called vertical angles, we have adjacent angles, complementary angles, and supplementary angles. Okay, these are the four things we're going to be looking at. Okay, so when you have a situation like this, alright, any two lines that cross, straight lines that cross, there's some things that happen. First of all, we have vertical angles, and these are angles that are opposite from each other. Okay, they are congruent. Alright, that's a geometry word for us. Congruent. Congruent just means that they are the same. Okay, so they are angles that are opposite from each other. So looking at this figure, we want to name a pair of vertical angles. We want to find two angles that are opposite of each other. Okay, we only have one pair here of angles that are opposite of each other, and it is going to be this angle here and this angle here. Okay, these two angles are directly opposite of each other. Okay, they would be vertical angles. Alright, and you can tell it's a vertical angle because if you draw a line from the center of one angle, it'll go directly to the center of the other angle. It'll go right through them perfectly, split them equally. Alright, this angle and this angle here, they look like vertical angles. They look like they're opposite of each other, but they don't split equally. If we start drawing a line right here and we come down right here and we continue our line straight, then it goes this way. It completely misses this angle over here. Whereas these two angles, if we draw a line straight through, it goes straight through both of them, so they're vertical angles. Alright, and what's special about that is that whatever this angle is, let's say this angle was like 60 degrees, this one is also going to be 60 degrees. They are exactly the same. Okay, we're going to use that later on in Chapter 8. So let's name the pair of vertical angles. So start with your angle symbol. We have angle AFB. And we have angle DFE. Okay, those are our vertical angles. Let's talk about another type of relationship, adjacent angles. These are angles that share a side and share a vertex. Okay, the vertex is just the center of the angle. Okay, the middle. So if we're looking at this figure, there are many angles here that share the same side and share a vertex. I mean, we have this angle right here and this angle right here. They both share this side. They both share the same middle vertex. We have this angle here and this angle here. They both share this side. They share the same center. This angle and this angle are adjacent. There's a lot of them that we could name. Okay, many adjacent angles. Alright, so we can just name any two that we want to. Let's go with this angle and this angle here. They're both sharing this side C. They both are sharing this center. So let's name these two here. So this one's going to be angle BFC. And angle CFD. Alright, perfect. There's our adjacent angles. Let's take a look at complementary angles. Okay, complementary angles are two or more angles whose measurements add up to 90 degrees. Okay, they are angles that when we put them together, it makes a 90-degree angle. Alright? Looking at this figure up here, we only have one set of complementary angles, and that is this one and this one, because these two together make up this bigger angle, which is a right angle. Alright, so this one and this one together make the 90-degree angle. Okay, so that is our pair of complementary angles. Let me change the wording on that. Okay, there we go, complementary angles. Let's go ahead and name those. We have angle AFB. And then we're going to also name this one here. We have angle BFC. Okay, so there's our complementary angles. We only had one set of complementary angles. Last one we're going to talk about is supplementary angles. This is two or more angles whose measurements add up to 180 degrees. Okay, and 180 degrees is just a straight line. So it is any group of angles that come together to make a straight line. Okay, so looking at this, we have a few different supplementary angles. To find them, find a straight line like this one right here and see which angles make that straight line. Okay, so if we're looking at this straight line, this angle and this angle together make this straight line. We could also look at this side and we have this angle and this angle and this angle together make this the straight line also. So on this side we have two angles that make the straight line. On this side we have three angles that make the straight line. Okay, we could pick another straight line if we wanted to. Here is this one right here. Okay, and if we're looking at that straight line, we have this angle, and this one together make this straight line. And on the bottom part of it, we have this angle and this angle together make the straight line. Okay, so if you can find a straight line that goes all the way through the center, find the angles that make that straight line. Okay, so let's name a pair of supplementary angles. Let's go with, let's take this angle here and this angle here, and let's name those two because they both make this nice straight line right here. So we're going to go with AFE. And then we're going to go with this angle right here, and we'll go with DFE. Okay, those are your examples of the 4 different types of angle relationships that happens when we have 2 or more straight lines that cross together. Alright, don't forget to try this questions. It's going to ask you some more questions about this, see if you can identify these things after we have talked about them. Tomorrow in class we will be working on an assignment and trying to find some more of all 4 of these. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. We will see you guys next time in class.